All right, folks, welcome back to the runningrestaurants.com podcast. We're bringing the tips, tools, and techniques you need to know to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jaime Oikle. Today, I've got a great episode for you with Michel Falcon, author, speaker, restaurant entrepreneur with Brasa Peruvian. And Michel was a guest with us about 2 years ago. Great episode 165. Make sure you check that out. So we're going to reconnect, talk about what's new. So, Michel, how are you? What's new?
A lot. I last time we spoke, I lived in Toronto. Now I live in New York, opening restaurants here while still managing the ones that we have in Toronto, back and forth between both cities. Uh, Living with my wife. Oh, I wasn't married. I'm married.
Oh,
Yeah, no kids.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, no kids yet, but a happy and healthy 7-year-old Rottweiler named Maggie, and she's the apple of my eye.
Hey, walking a dog in New York is no joke, by the way.
It's a lot of things to pick up on the ground. I have to be on guard.
It is. It is. I've lived in, been in the city, so I know that. So you just opened a place in New York. I think you said this week.
Yes,
Holy cow! Congrats, first of all, because that's always a struggle. But New York City restaurant market is like no other. How's it been?
um, I am cautiously optimistic. Today's Friday. We opened on Monday, and I'm on the podcast with you. The team is running the show, so that's an indication that we're doing well. We hired correctly. I have the right management in place. And as soon as I'm done this podcast, I'm going to head to the restaurant and meet some customers, shake some hands. But
Yeah.
it's good. Like we're Brookfield Properties, the large landlord that they are, is a real estate partner for us in Toronto, and they approached us to open something in New York. I jumped at the opportunity to do so for a myriad of different reasons. One of which is this location in New York that we opened just this week is in an office tower as well.
Huh?
Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We know this really well because of our prior successes in Toronto. So it was a great entrance into a new market for us, something that we know extremely well. And that was the only way I was going to do it, is making sure that we had past wins to help propel us forward. And, look, the first week is great. How am I measuring the results? Top line sales. How are our team members? Are they showing up every day? They are. They're showing up early. They're showing up very engaged. How are the guest responses, Google reviews? Just, are we getting catering requests already? So check. Everything
Yeah.
is everything's going well. But as you and I both know, and everybody listening, you got to earn it every single day. What you did
Yeah.
yesterday was kind of irrelevant to today.
Yeah.
And we operate in a business of nickels and dimes, and you just hope that there's a lot of them. And
Yeah.
I'm content, but
Good.
not
Good.
not getting too confident.
Well, I recall from our previous conversation that the people part, and you've already hinted at it, was such a big component about your previous launches and previous restaurant success. The way you bring people in, the way you engage them, the way you treat them, and so it sounds like that continues to be the case. Because why would you walk away from that? It's very part of building your success, but. Um, you said earlier, before we jumped on, you said you're doing even something newer with your staff of pay transparency. Did I hear it correctly? That's pretty radical in this industry. What's going on?
So I call it people first pay transparency. It dates back to 2009 when I was building my career, and I always found it bizarre that companies will punish their employees for talking about compensation.
Yeah.
And it's the number one thing that secures our livelihood, that's based on performance, or at least it should be. And in 2009, I said, one day when I start a company of my own, I'm going to go against this taboo. And about a year and a half ago, I said, I'm going to do it now. So at Brass Peruvian Kitchen, every team member knows what their peers or managers earn to the dollar,
Mm-hmm.
not pay band or not salary bands, to the actual dollar, including mine salary also. Now, picture a Google sheet In one column has your name, the next, when did you join the company, the next column after that, how much did you earn when you joined the company, what position are you in currently, and what do you earn now. And then the last column, which I call career growth, is a story of why do you earn what you earn today. And it's a documentation or a documentation of all the greatness that you have brought to the table. So picture this: Jamie's a team member, joined us on this date as a team member, and now is a senior team lead earning 25 an hour, where when he started it was 20 an hour. So you can see that visual growth on this chart. And in the last column, it'll be very, very descriptive in being like, on January 4th, Jamie earned 3 5-star Google reviews, right? Like, we're capturing all the good that you're doing so that when Jamie's peer looks at the document and says, Jamie started when I started, why does he earn more than me?
Right.
Well, read the last column, right? Like, it's just undeniable that Jamie has brought more value. Not to undermine other people's efforts, but you have to be very clear in why it is Jamie earns what he earns. And before I did it, I floated the idea with some friends, and
Yeah.
I was told, don't do this, don't do this. And I said, I'm going to do it. And if it blows up in my face, I'll course correct. And then, those same friends said, okay, well, if your company does not implode because of this, maybe I'll do it too. I haven't had anybody join me yet in this journey of pay transparency,
Yeah.
and that's fine. It's not for everybody. It was just something I did for myself, and largely because I would want to work for a company that did this. Right? When we go from employee to entrepreneur, sometimes we forget about what we wanted our companies to behave like when we were on a seat on the bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to behave in a way that is untrue to how I would want the company to operate if I was a member of the team. And it's helped performance also. When you have Jamie
Hmm.
look at his manager and be like, my manager makes $95,000 a year. I want $95,000 a year. Okay, well, earn it. Here, it's been done before. Why can't you do it? And they can.
The first reaction is, oh, like, oh my God, right? Like, people probably hear that and go, you can't, it's a secret. People can't know. And whether it's open book management where people see the numbers of a business, which I believe in too. In restaurants, if you showed your staff the whys and where those nickels and dimes go, it really helps understand the business as well. Like, they think, the public believes that restaurant owners are millionaires. They're just automatic millionaires because they're running a restaurant. They just think that. And of course, the reality is far from the truth. If you bring in 8, 10, 12%, on the dollar, you're doing fantastic. And so there's just so much that goes into it. But to bring pay, which is, like you used the word, taboo, into the public, I'm really fascinated by this. So the staff, when you first loaded that thing up there, it's a Google sheet, they can log in. What was some of the first reactions?
They were impressed. They appreciated it. Like, every company says, will call themselves transparent. We're a transparent organization.
Mm.
Oh, but not this topic.
Yeah.
The topic that secures your livelihood, we don't talk about that. As a matter of fact, if you talk about this, we're going to punish you.
Mm.
Here's the thing, Jamie. You're not punishing the employees. You are fracturing the trust that they have with you, the
Mm-hmm.
company, and the leader.
Mm-hmm.
It's negativity all around. And look, I'm not trying to be a martyr by doing this, but it just makes sense. Like, let's get past this. And you're starting to see government legislature that says you have to post what this job pays when you
Right.
go to market. It's just a matter of time that the majority of companies, and I'm not going to say, oh, I was here first. I'm going to just say it's about time we're all here.
I'm curious to know this because around the first time your book's been out for a while, the People First Culture book, and when we talked a lot about culture in our previous conversation, and this topic here, I can see it. If you're not already working on it, I can see a book coming out about this topic and your learnings around it. Is that potentially coming down the road?
Yeah, I have it in my head, but I gotta find the time to write the thing.
Yeah, you do.
The theme of the book is around pride. Like, how proud are you of your business and the things that you're doing? Whether it's a restaurant, an insurance brokerage, or whatever the case might be. Like, it's a topic that we don't talk enough about. I I'm proud of the pay transparency. I'm proud that we only have 17% year over year turnover within our employees when the market's typically 100%.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm proud of our Google reviews. Like, building a company that when you look back on your career, being like, I did good work and I'm proud of that. I lifted people up instead of stepping on people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Love it.
there's something there. And I promise you, Jamie, the output is profits. I promise, right? Like, we're running I'm in the name of transparency, we're running restaurants that are hovering around 20% net margin in
Yeah.
fast casual. And our labor percentages are microscopic because of a lesson I learned called talent density, which I learned from Netflix.
Hmm.
And this is something that also gives me a lot of pride. Talent density is something from Netflix in how they compensate their engineers and anybody that works with them at head office. And essentially, it's we want such dense talent that we can pay over market
Yeah.
because these individuals are so talented that they're actually equal to 1.5 people. So when we went to market in New York, and we do this in Toronto, but the most recent example is going to market in New York to build our team. I took a look at what was minimum wage, 15.50 in the state of New York. What does a comparable restaurant pay for team members? 17 on average. I said we're going to go 21 right off the bat. We had 1,500 people apply in a handful of days.
Wow.
And why is that? Like, I get it. They see how much we're paying. And then we take them through a rigorous interview process to make sure that we're getting the best. Now, these individuals know that, hey, you need to bring 1.5 people worth of effort, or else this whole economic model does not work. And for these individuals, because they're such high performers, they know how to take 3 steps instead of 5. For them, this is easy work,
Yeah.
right? This is easy. This is fluid for them. And I'm proud that I pay 21% higher than comparable restaurants. And so much so that I have a sticker, a decal on the sneeze guard of our restaurant in New York, and it's going to come to Toronto shortly. But it says, the team members serving you today earn 21% higher than comparable restaurants. Thank you for choosing us.
I like it.
It hit me. I was walking home. This was like 5 days ago. Like, it was 2 days before opening, and I quickly ran to my printer and said, "Can you produce this in time for my opening?"
Yeah.
Because it just hit me, and I was like, "We should trumpet this messaging of
Yeah.
great company cultures." Now, it doesn't have to be on the pay component side of things, but your restaurant, your business is special. There's one, two, five things that are unique to you, and you know that your current team members know that. The market needs to know how great you are. And we're so inundated with marketing for customer acquisition, we forget about recruitment and marketing for talent.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to pound, pound, pound that drum of how special you are. And your unique superpowers may be different than mine, but regardless, it's a superpower. And if there's current people that like working with you, you have to understand why, intimately, why they like working with you. And then you have to go to market with that. Put it in your job descriptions, put it in your social ads, put it on those Indeed posts. because there's other people that are going to want to join you too. You just have to let everybody know what makes you great.
Yeah, Michelle, I'm scribbling out a bunch of notes. By the way, I hope folks are too. You're talking about a lot of stuff that any organization can use. But you talked about Netflix and learning from them. Where else are you learning stuff as a business builder, as an entrepreneur? How are you integrating that information into what you bring?
Yeah, we look about we look at other companies for inspiration, sometimes in our industry.
Yep.
But I would argue if you're trying to create something that's never been seen before, look outside of your industry. Whether it's a podcast or books written by the founders of companies that you admire as a consumer yourself, but what about your own self development? Your company will not grow if you, the leader, aren't growing first. It just won't happen. So, where I go for my education is people outside of my industry. My friend Saw Juman, he exited from his company. In other words, he sold it, and he was in the medical field.
Mhm.
Look for people like that. My friend Aleem, he is not in restaurants. He's in private equity. I look for education from him because he's a financial wizard. So he's phenomenal with finance. But regardless of where it is, you have people in your community, in your city, maybe somebody you're connected with on LinkedIn. You have to go and get after that education first for yourself. And that's going to empower you and influence the growth for your company too, by way of education. And, part of what I did, New York's a very expensive city, Jamie, as you know.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Extraordinarily. If you don't, it's extraordinarily expensive. So um, I don't cut myself a big salary. So what I had to do to be able to afford the livelihood for my wife and I started a coaching program. It's called Teams by Michel Falcon,
Mhm.
and I meet with entrepreneurs and business leaders every Thursday at 2 o'clock, and I host a coaching program. So what individuals can do listening to this podcast is there's tons of coaches available to you as well at affordable pricing, and or free podcasts or YouTube videos while you're walking. That like I'm very pro getting free education. Like I post stuff on LinkedIn all the time for people to be able to kind of rip off and duplicate.
Yep.
So that's where I go, very grassroots. I'm not an academic. I don't say that proudly, but I like to find kind of progressive ways of learning.
Yeah, listen, even inside of that, two things I wrote down is, and especially in the restaurant business, people have a tendency to believe, well, I know it all. I've done it this way. It's always been done this way. I'm not going to change. That's the first thing. And then just generally speaking, once we graduate high school or college or we go beyond, oh, good, I've stopped learning. I don't have
Yeah.
to learn anymore. Like I don't have to do anything. And that's been historically the case. I like to read a lot. But what you pointed at is it's changed so much. There's so much digital learning, streaming. There's courses online, and you don't. So you don't have. It doesn't have to be a big thing that you need to think. Oh man, I need to go back to graduate school. Like you can get little nuggets on a daily basis in a podcast, in these online courses. Some are free, some are cheap, some are expensive. Pick your poison. Coaching services, like you mentioned, I'm sure. Just listening to you, I'm sure you'd be terrific with folks and encouraging. There's so much out there, so don't stop. And I'll just pontificate for one more second. If you think you're busy, fine. Um, Read a chapter a day. Read for 5 minutes. I
Hmm.
swear to God, you'll pick up some tips that you can bring to your day. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is that everybody has the same amount of hours in the week. We've heard this before, and it's not that you're too busy. It's just you're choosing to spend your time somewhere else.
Hmm.
And that's not to say that what you're doing is irrelevant to what you should be doing. Just you shouldn't say that you're too busy,
Yeah.
because maybe you cut out an hour of what you're currently doing that doesn't bring you a lot of value, but you think it does. Audit this, then be like, wait a second, I do have an hour to self educate if I get rid of this thing. Why can't my assistant manager do this? I'm sure that they can, right? Whatever the case might be, but make the time. And similarly, when I meet some restaurant professionals, say, oh, I can't afford to do that for my company culture or whatever the topic might be. Like you can, you're just choosing to spend that money somewhere else, which is fine, but just
Yep.
don't say that you can't because, somebody asked me the other day, the question is escaping me, so I'm going to paraphrase it. But how do you know if somebody's committed to company culture? Something like this. And I said, show me your P&L. Show me your P&L, and I'll tell you what matters to you the most. Because often what matters to you the most is what you spend your money on for your restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're
Yeah.
spending $2,000 a month on this. And it seems like a lot of line items here are related to marketing, which again is fine. But if you want to invest in company culture or guest experience strategies, leadership for yourself, could you shave those line items down by 15% to free up a little bit of operating capital to invest in yourself or your
Right.
team? You can. You just got to put everything under a microscope. And
Hmm.
one thing that I was taught early in my career is inspect what you expect.
Yep.
And that's just overturning stones, always looking at your P&Ls, always looking at your Google reviews, kind of spot checking restaurant operations. And it's quite simple. It's a habit for me.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to something you talked about, and this will be our last kind of bucket for today. And
Yeah.
interviewing 1,500 people, I can't even imagine, or I don't know if you got to everybody, but that many people were interested in joining you. Building a team, I know from our previous conversation, is a big part of your way of operating. So, building teams today versus how you've done it in the past. What
Mhm.
does it look like? How do you talk to people? I remember specifically our last conversation. You talked about asking really interesting questions
Mhm.
as part of the interview process. But anyway, what does it look like?
Um, it's very progressive, and it makes no sense to anybody other than me. But I can tell, but I can tell you, it has phenomenal results. So bear with me as I describe this.
Yes.
I treat our job description, which I've renamed career description, Jamie, because
Hmm.
when I Googled the word job, it said something like the definition for a job is compensation for ordinary work. I
Hmm.
don't want anything that's ordinary. So I changed that. I actually banned the word job or job description from our company. It's career description now. It's more uplifting. And it's 5 pages. And this is for team members. This isn't for, your CFO or your controller. This is for team members. 5 pages.
Yeah.
Within the 5 pages, there are 3 links, or 4 links, pardon me. And you have to watch videos that are about 30 minutes in duration in total. Then at the bottom of this 5 page career description, you click a link and you have to answer 15 questions. It's the application. I use this software called Typeform to power it. And then you're not even guaranteed an interview. So one of the first questions in the application is, did you watch the videos in the career description? Anybody that says no isn't offered an interview. You already told me you can't follow direction,
Right.
or you've already shown me that you don't care enough. So that's one tripwire that we have in place. Next, we ask the question, have you ever been called kind before? And if people say no, then they don't get an interview either because that aligns with our core values, right? Or one of our core values as a company is experience driven. We want everybody that interacts with Brass Improvement Kitchen to have a phenomenal experience. And I believe customer experience and great customer service is the bedrock is kindness and hospitality, graciousness. So you see that I connect the core values to the interview process and the questions that we ask. I asked another question in this application. What's the temperature of the sun? I think we may have talked about this last time we recorded, but
I don't remember that.
no. Okay, so if somebody says very hot, they're not getting an interview either because when a customer inevitably asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, you're going to be general like that. I don't know. I think it's this. No. So with the what's the temperature of the sun question in the application, what we're looking for is, does this person have the wherewithal to go and Google it,
Yeah.
come back and respond? So
Yeah.
anybody that does not respond with the right answer, then they don't get an interview either. And it goes on and on and on. And what are we looking for? We're looking at these applications. So we just because we had 1,500 people apply through Indeed does not mean 1,500 people actually applied through the application.
Yeah.
So we're already starting to filter people out because I know some people are like, this person wants me to read a 5-page job description and watch videos. I'm not doing this. Great. The
Good.
system is working.
Hmm.
We're turning you over before we even offer you a role within the company. Then we review the type form applications. We're looking for sentence structure, punctuation, enthusiasm in the answers. And then you're invited to a group virtual interview. If you get the interview, it's almost a formality. Like you're hired pretty much. You don't even know that you have been interviewed. We interviewed you that whole way. You didn't even know it.
Right.
Now, if you show up on time for the interview and are still enthusiastic, it's a yes for us. And then that interview is typically like 15 minutes. I'm just showing, did they show up on time and do they have a smile on their face when they show up? We also give them the interview questions ahead of time, Jamie. So from by the time that they fill out the type form, the application, and we like it, and we send them an invite. Hey, this is the interview. Here's the link. Oh, by the way, we've attached the interview questions for you. These are the questions we're going to be asking you, and here are some best practices like have good Wi-Fi, have good natural light, and so forth. So if the person shows up to the group interview and they're outside at a park, they're like, hey, we told you not to do that, like kind of not following direction already. And the reason we give the interview questions ahead of time is because I'm not trying to make you fail.
Right.
Interviewing is not an interrogation. You're trying to understand whether you want this person at your dinner table. No pun intended. But that's what we're doing. Like I see Brass Improving Kitchen as a dinner party. Every single person that works with us right now has earned their seat. There's empty seats at the table, but you got to earn it like the others have, right? Because
Yeah.
how often do we build teams where 100% of the work is done by 33% of the team, right? Like it's just not fair, especially with the idea of talent density paying over market. It just does not work. And our labor percentages are 17%, right? Industry is 25.
So
It
good.
it pays to pay more. And this isn't just um, a thought, a pipe dream. This is real life of what I'm experiencing. And goes back to the pride piece. I'm proud that we pay what we pay. And word gets out. There's word of mouth. There's people that are applying all the time. But here's why I'm extremely proud about it, Jamie. Our mission statement as a company, which I have rephrased as why do we exist? Like,
Hmm.
why do we exist as a company? I'm a Peruvian inspired brand. We are not traditional Peruvian food, but here's our mission statement, word for word, and I do not have it anywhere posted. Okay, as
Yeah.
in it's stitched in my brain. I'm going to recite this to you word for word.
Right.
To build a company that the world needs more of, one where everyday people are empowered to make great money, achieve career growth, and help close the income equality gap. Now, that is why we exist. The outcome of that is clinically clean restaurants, food that is consistently flavored, served by hospitable professionals.
Yeah.
That just builds the business. But
Yeah.
because the foundation is very people first, like Jamie, imagine if I had a reputation of being a poor employer and I wrote the people first culture book, like that's shoot fraud all over it, right? So I have to keep myself on my toes because I know what I post on LinkedIn, but
That's funny.
having that brings a lot of meaning to my work. Just this morning at 8:15 a.m., I called Vanita. Vanita's somebody on our Toronto team. She joined us a year and a half ago as a part-time team member working in the restaurants. And I called her today to tell her that she's being promoted. She's going to be bumped up to 65,000 a year and be our operations manager overseeing 3 locations with our senior director of operations. And I'm very happy today.
Yeah.
because I'm living my truth. I am living the truth of the company by being able to put people first. And truth be told, Vanita is going to make more money than me on paper, which I'm totally fine with because I know I'll get sorted out as an individual, right? If I'm able to put people first, if they're able to learn and earn at the same time, like what a racket. Like I want our team to feel like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm getting paid to learn all this stuff. But there's an agreement. Hey, you got to take care of me too, and I'll take care of you, and we'll have a phenomenal relationship. It's not any dissimilar to my relationship with my wife, Jamie. We've been together for 8 years, married for one. She serves me, I serve her.
Yep.
As soon as either party stops serving the other party, that's where the fracture of the relationship happens. And sometimes it can crumble, sometimes it can recover, but more often than not in the workplace, once that trust is fractured, it's hard to recover.
It's hard to recover for sure, for sure. Again, I'm a jotter down. I jotted down. That was not HR 101 stuff. That was not basic stuff. That was like advanced level HR 401 class. That like, if you took that approach of tripwiring people out of the application process, bringing in great people, it's no secret to success. So nice recipe there. Very good stuff. We hit on a lot. If folks were listening, hopefully you can take pieces of this and implement it. I fully endorse all the stuff you've talked about, Michel. Hit them with socials, website, the coaching stuff, anything as we wrap and close, parting thoughts,
Yeah.
wisdom, etc.
So my parents blessed and cursed me with my name, Michel Falcon. I'm called Michael Falcon every day, 3 times a day for 38 years. So I bring that up because I'm very easy to find online. Just type in my name wherever you are, LinkedIn or
Yeah.
Instagram or Facebook. You can find me quite easily. And then with the coaching program, it's Teams by Michel Falcon. Restaurateurs are in there, all sorts of individuals. You got to be a nice person. I over index on the kindness, hospitality. Like you got to have a good personality and be razor sharp because you'll be joining a community of people that are very friendly but very ambitious and very smart people. That's what I like, and that's where you can find me. And I get. Hey, by the way, I share a lot of free stuff on LinkedIn and
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram. Go there first. Don't pay for things first. Get preliminary stuff, get your feet wet. Like you said, Jamie, like a lot of the stuff I do is very advanced, but I position it in a way where beginners can get their feet wet because you don't want to start with the advanced stuff because you're going to demoralize yourself when it inevitably doesn't work. There's a lot to be said about momentum and compounding your effort, get you in a good place in like 90 days.
Yeah, 100%. So, folks, lots of good stuff there. Michel Falcon of Brasa Peruvian. You find them on the web at brasaperuvian.com, michelfalcon.com for that stuff. For us, for more great restaurant marketing and service, people and tech tips, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, do me a favor, like it, subscribe it, share it, give us a review, give us a rating. All that stuff is super helpful. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Michel.
Thank you.